Hello everyone, and welcome back to our discussion overview videos. Give you some insights into some of these chapters in case you missed any aspects and I like to focus on certain things. Remember, I'm working off this Flags of Our Fathers website that's on our Module 9 Schoology folder, right there for you. So please use it as a nice resource as you go through the actual book. So here I am in this, and let me go back to our full screen. And I actually want to go back, to chapters 5 through 8. Again, the major questions, right? How does the author enhance this book? How does Bradley use primary sources and passages and pictures and quotes? I think he does a great job with that. There's so many little anecdotes and little stories that he kind of weaves into the larger story of these individuals. Again, that clash of culture between Marines and Japanese is really important. We saw it sort of introduced in chapters 1 through 4. It's going to continue there, so please keep an eye on that if you haven't done so already. What images made the most impression upon you? There's so many you can pick and choose from here, right? And what motivated these guys to fight? What inspired them to these great feats of valor, right, in the heat of battle? I think is really interesting. So some things, again, that I pointed out here, again, I'm trying to give you some insights. If the examples that I give you, please do not use them in your discussion posts if you haven't posted aspects already. But I think Chapter 5, again, is really important as it kind of gets into this training and forging the spearhead at Camp Pendleton, which is actually still one of the main bases out west of Marine training. So Camp Pendleton is still an active military base. You could definitely look that up. I think it's really kind of fascinating that this is still there. So take a look at there's some great stories of individual Marines and the importance of the rifle that he gets into there. I give you some things to think about on those shared Google Docs, so make sure you've sort of looked at those points of interest there. On page 10, let's see right here real quick. This is on page 104. I thought this was kind of just a great sort of example of leadership here. Inspired leadership is the key to Marines' greatness. We talked about leadership earlier in the course. Marine officers stress their duty to look after the needs of their men. All right. Give this great example of Robert Leader in Easy Third with Doc. Talking about what they experience and what about leadership, and also about Mike Strank being a leader. Mike is just this amazing individual, which we're going to learn more and more about. Everybody idolized Mike. He was a born leader, a natural leader, a leader by example. He led by example. He had been there. He was an experienced fighter, but never talked about it himself. He had real concern for his men and really cared about their well-being, and that's a great example of some wonderful leadership. So just keep an eye on that as you went through it. Now on page 107, talk about fireside chats. And here's a picture of Franklin Delano Roosevelt giving fireside chats. And that was a major way he communicated his message to Americans from the Depression, before the war, and certainly through the war. What I have here for you is an example of fireside chat. It gives you to just a link off of Google Drive. Listen to it. It's kind of interesting. It's a famous fireside chat of Roosevelt during the war, giving us an update on the progress of the war.
As far away as possible.
So I'll stop it there, though. But as you're listening to it, just imagine being at home. Imagine being in front of a radio. There is no television, right? And this is the way you got your information about the world and the events. I think that's a pretty awesome example there. So make sure you definitely take a look at that. A lot of other great things here in this chapter to sort of explore and look at. Iggy's story is in here to make sure you know who Iggy is and how he's going to be so important for Doc. Ira's struggles with alcoholism and depression. Renee and his struggles to find out who he really is. So you got a lot of really great things going on here during these early chapters. Great examples of teamwork, of them learning how to be a team and so forth. So just keep that an eye. On the end of the chapter on page 120, it talks about the last Christmas for a lot of these guys. And it talks about Bing Crosby was singing on the radio about a white Christmas. Well, White Christmas was created during the war, during this time period, as a song for soldiers overseas who would not see a white Christmas. So there's the cover of the record, right? White Christmas with Bing Crosby. And again, I have here for you a link to the song. So if you want, listen to the song. And imagine you're either a soldier overseas listening to the song, dreaming of home, or you're in your living room at home being fearful of a father, a brother, a husband, whoever it might be, who might be overseas fighting for your country, and how this song really resonated with Americans, right? It's just a very sort of slow, romantic song about the war and about Christmas. So keep that in mind. That White Christmas is a World War II song. So pretty awesome stuff. Okay, now kind of moving on here to chapter 6 and about the Armada and about those aspects. Again, there's a lot of great examples here, a lot of great kind of quotes to look for. December 1945 was the last Christmas for so many young boys. There's that quote from page 120. Kind of made a mistake there. Sorry about that. That should really be in chapter 5. But anyway, moving on here as well. On 137, gets into about Kiribashi, the leader of Iwo Jima, about his goal of sort of really foreshadows the strategy of Vietnam, how these guys dug into these mountains, could not be seen, and what tremendous stress that created for American soldiers, right? So make sure it's a great example of that. There's great maps in this chapter about the flag, about the terrain and the island itself, so make sure you take a look at that. It's pretty excellent stuff in there. Again, on 137, about, again, this glorified death on the battlefield, dying for the emperor, but really what he said, the last words that everyone said was their mother. German, American, Japanese, right? You know, you're saying you're going to die for your emperor. The last breath that you take, usually you call out for your mother, right? So that was what a great parallel. Everybody, whether it be German, Japanese, or American, that's what they were sure really experiencing there. Again, on 143, about the maps, the U.S. ships didn't tell the boys, right, that they would have to run over ground, hit 1,500 underground rooms, the 16 miles of tunnels, right, how well fortified this particular island was and what the difficulties it would have for all of this. So just great things about all these individuals, what they experienced on this island as they were getting prepared to make that particular first day invasion. Page 146. Again, great comparison about what these guys were fighting for. They would fight for their company, their platoon, their squad, and it was the ties at this level that would determine the outcome of the battle. I read written home, there's a real friendship between all of us. I don't think any of us would take 1,000 separate us from the others. We trust and depend on one another, right? Everybody had their buddy. Go back to the Rogers article. This is what these World War II soldiers are fighting for, this created new community, this organic community, right, of, fighting for your friends, fighting for your buddy, making sure that they come home. And that inspired them to do these things, perhaps much more so than the Japanese, who were just trying to kill 10 Americans before they themselves got killed in that particular instance. And the quote kind of ends there on page 147. So really excellent stuff here in this Armada chapter. So many other things you can talk about. So please go through that chapter if you haven't done so already. A lot of great examples about the bombardment and trying to soften up the island and how that certainly failed. Okay, now, really I didn't give a lot here. We'll come back to 9 and 12 later. There's so much in Chapter 7 about D-Day. This is the landing. D-Day is the term given to every first day of an invasion, not just the most famous D-Day of Normandy on June 6, 1944. So there's so many examples in that chapter of people's heroism, trying to sort of land on the beach, get themselves established, right? I'm not going to give anything away here because there's so many great examples in this chapter about the invasion itself. It's not a very long chapter, so make sure you read that well, I hope. And then certainly on chapter 8, D-Day +1, same idea. The next day, this is going to go on for over a month on this island, right? All the different things they had to do. There's a great story on 174 about a high school freshman. Check that out, about his acts of heroism in this particular battle. Great aspects here as well. So take a look at all of this. Hope this helps you a little bit. Listen to the song, listen to the fireside chat, and hope you're enjoying the book. All right, take care. Bye-bye.